Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Demonology Today with Dennis, Carroll, and Grizzly. Hello, everybody. Hello, Aussie Sue. Hello, I Talk Cryptids. Hello, Catherine. Hello, Dennis. How are you doing, Mr. Carroll?
All right. How's everything, my friend?
Doing fine. Hello, Lizzie. Welcome to the show. Tess H. Leanna King.
Yep.
Well, I Talk Cryptids. How's everybody doing? So interesting what we're going to do a little bit differently tonight, are we?
Yep. We're going to field some questions and some general discussion. We're going to see what happens.
Norma, welcome to the show. Glad you can able to make it. So what is everybody's agenda tonight? What is everybody's topic? What is on your mind? I know there is a lot of things that we wanted to talk about before and didn't have an opportunity to do so. But here is a chance, ladies and gentlemen, to ask what you want to know or what you want to know your answers to your questions to. So this is a chance. You can come on the show if you want to ask, or you can ask out in the chat. Your choice. Either way, I'll bring you on, ladies and gentlemen. So yes.
We're
bring
ready.
You onto the show and let you ask.
Yeah, hit us with the question.
Crazy witch. Don't ever be sorry, crazy witch. You're here. So that's the main point. But yeah. So we're going to start. So you love talking about angelic beings, angels. Is that true?
Yeah, we had an interesting show today on that. It's one of my favorite subjects, angelology. Although I like deep into demonology, angelology is fascinating too. Really, in some aspects, even more fascinating because these are the good guys. You know, they've got our back. If you believe, if you're a believer, they've got your back definitely. And that's what I like about them. I would rather be found on the side of the angels anytime than the other guys. Definitely. They're the good guys, and they're going to win, I think, in the end. You know, I've always believed that my whole life, Grizzly, that, you know, evil will be defeated, that good will triumph in the end. It doesn't look that way sometimes. It looks like it's going the other way a lot of times, you know. But I think I'm hoping, I'm an optimist at heart. That is the way it will eventually turn out. I believe that good will triumph over these forces of darkness.
Well, I hope so. I mean, it does. Sometimes I wonder, but I do have faith, right? So, but you know, in dark times, you know, especially the things that are going on in the world, I mean, it really makes you stop and wonder what is going on with AI and in the technology and what AI wants to do. It's very interesting. A friend of mine that we do some shows together, his friend actually fired his attorney and hired AI.
Yeah.
And won his case. Now, ladies and gentlemen, now what does that represent? Is that not crazy?
And here's another thing, Chris. AI is getting deep into religion now. There's some AI programs are giving out sermons. One of them's rewriting the Bible. What's going on with that? You know, that's not good either, really. Here's the thing about that, you know, and we've got to look at the big picture, folks. The Bible, the Word of God, if you believe it, is what it says it is. It was spiritually written, and therefore it must be spiritually read. AI does not have that kind of a spirit, a human spirit about it. It may have, some of it may have an evil spirit for all we know, but it doesn't have a human spirit. It's not human, okay? As much as it wants to be, tries to be, acts like it, it's not human, okay? No matter which way you look at it. And you know what keeps reminding me a lot of this, Grizz, is that movie, you know, Blade Runner. Remember that?
Yes.
The interesting thing about Blade Runner, one of my favorite sci-fi movies, is that the world they lived in, you didn't know what you were dealing with. These things looked human, acted human, had emotions, but yet they had a weird dark side to them, and they were out to survive no matter what the cost. and human life was cheap to them. That's AI, that's what that is. But AI has that potential, and just like I said earlier about good triumphing over evil, you know, AI has the potential to do wonderful things, to do great things for us, but it won't turn out that way because look who's got the hand on the tiller of this ship, okay?
Right,
And
right.
that's mankind,
That's
that's the
the
way that
problem.
goes. Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
we do have a question. Aussie wants to know, Dennis, I can't remember if you ever had a spirit or anything else attached to you.
No, really, I have never ever had any type of. I have had a lot of oppression. I've had the enemy still fights me a lot. It comes against me in many different ways, and that's the way it works. But that's okay because that tells me I'm in a good place. Um, but I've never actually had an attachment. Thank God. I've had to deal with a lot of them. But people have come to me with these attachments, and I think here's the thing about it. Okay, if you are deep in the work of your Creator, doing what, if you're in His will, He's going to watch out for you. He's going to guard you. He's going to protect you. You know, and so I take that kind of that way with me. Okay, and I've had a lot of people over the years ask me because I am somewhat of I guess you could say expert. I don't call myself that, but of the occult. And a lot of people have asked me, well, Dennis, haven't you ever wanted to try it out a little bit? Haven't you ever wanted to see how it works? Not? I said, no, I've been held back from that. That's never been an attraction to me. I've never been obsessed with that as some people are. I'm not a user of it. I'm a scholar. Okay. First of all things, I am a scholar. And when you take things from a scholarly way, that's the best way to do it in my book because that keeps your emotions down, that keeps your obsessions down, that keeps all that down in its place where it needs to be. So you have to use an analytical mind against these type of things and don't let them get in you. The perfect example is what Chris and I used to be in law enforcement. Okay. And when you're in law enforcement, you've got to remain what? Professional.
Professional.
You've got to remain or you can't do your job. You're useless, you know? If you break down and you lose it, you're not helping anybody. You're certainly not helping yourself. So you've got to retain that professionalism, you know, that in a way keeps a bumper there, keeps these things from getting to you. But I think that, you know, if you are where you really need to be, God's going to look out for you. He's going to put a hedge around you. He's going to do that. But I have come close to these things trying to follow me home. Oh, yeah, I've come close to these things trying to get to me in many different ways. They have, once in a while, have invaded my home trying to get to me, but I get rid of them. I mean, you know, well, God gets rid of them. I don't. But there, I get rid of them. And every now and then I take safeguards against that because these things are the enemy and they will do whatever it takes. And folks, when I say whatever, I mean whatever. They will do whatever it takes to get to you and to harass you and possess you if that's the ultimate goal, is to take over, invade your life and your being, you know.
And this brings me to the point. Remember that old saying, you are a gentleman and a scholar, Mr. Carroll. And that's why they call it a scholar. Good moral character. So another question for you, Mr. Carroll. It says, if you ever sold your soul to the devil, can you ever get it back?
Well, that's an interesting question. Yeah, definitely. So, yeah, it depends. Here's the thing about it, okay? And you got to remember this. Your soul belongs to you, okay? It's not a commodity you can buy and sell like a car or a used air conditioner or whatever the case may be, okay? You can give your soul away. You can give your soul over to the dark side. And a lot of times when this happens, it is a point of no return. And I'll tell you why. Okay, here's the interesting part. If you sell your soul to the devil, you don't usually want to get it back. Understand? You don't come to your senses and say, "Oh boy, I did a bad thing. I shouldn't have done that." Well, if you can think that, you're in a good place. You might have some hope. But 9.5 times out of 10, you're not going to think that. You're going to like where you at. It's like I've said before. That's the way Satan works. He puts his arm around you. Won't tell said we're going to hell. He makes you think it's a great idea, and it's your idea to start with. That's just the way he works. And when you sell over yourself over to the dark side, that's where you want to be. It changes your whole perspective. Everything turns backwards. And that's the way evil works. Good is evil, and evil is good. That's the way Satan works, okay? And he changes your whole perspective. You don't want to go back. You don't want your soul back. You like it where you're at. You like that darkness. You like that power you get, that money, prestige, sex, whatever it is you're after, that revenge or whatever. You like that, and it becomes part of you. And that darkness takes you over completely. And at that point, there is no return.
Next question. I will answer this and I'll let you follow. Do you ever remember dealing with any violent person as a police officer and realizing this, oh my God, this guy is possessed? Now, Liana, I have dealt with people that I have seen darkness in their eyes. I have seen people that resembled an empty shell. I have seen people that have no soul inside of them.
Lost souls, I call them. Yeah.
And I don't know if it was the narcotics they were on or whatever, but they would just seemed emptied. No remorse, no nothing. That would just stare right through you.
I was involved in an incident with this guy. He was a skinny little guy. I mean, he was no bigger than a straw. Okay, this was a little bitty guy. It took all 8 of us to hold him down.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and have him handcuff him. And here's the interesting thing: he wasn't on drugs. It wasn't drugs. It wasn't adrenaline. It was something else. And he was one of those incidents, just like you're saying, that you could look in the eyes and there wasn't nothing there, you know. And when I was dealing with this guy, and I said, and some of the other officers commented on this, said that just wasn't natural. That strength he had wasn't natural. What was it? You know, it had to be demonic.
Yeah, stuff like that, fears me, gives me the eepy-jippies a lot more than anything else. Sam Thomas, what do you think, or do you think that when one gives the soul to evil, do you think evil entity will take over the body as well?
Oh well, yeah, definitely. You've got that problem, and when you turn yourself over to these forces of evil, you become part of them, and you will have what is the Bible is specifically called a familiar spirit. The spirit is your helpmate. I've had people come to me and say, I sold my soul to the devil, and now demon's my friend. Best friend I got, does everything I want him to, but he always, of course, comes with a price, a bad price. But that's just what you got. That comes with there. And I'll tell you why. The evil spirit is put there to seal the deal, okay? To make sure you don't turn back.
Liana, did you still treat these people as normal? And we treated them very carefully, cautiously, because we didn't know what direction that they would or would not go to harm us or harm other officers or other people. You never knew what the outcome was going to be. So yeah,
I've seen them beat their heads on the windows and the bars and patrol cars that would have killed them. I mean, it's destructive. And I've said that so many times, Chris. Evil in its inherently self is self-destructive. It destroys. That's what it does best.
Yeah, Liana says that sounds like possession oppression. Well, at the time we didn't know what it was because we thought it was something else, but you know how hindsight is.
There are
Cat.
different, there are different levels of possession. There are different
Yes, that is
levels of
correct.
oppression. There are different levels of oppression as well. So you don't know what level you're dealing with sometimes.
Cat
The
says the
psychopaths are the
psychopaths,
same
yeah.
empty. Yeah, psychopaths. Oh yeah, they have that dark. They have that emptiness. I've often said it looks like looking into the eyes of a shark. There's no emotion. There's no feeling. There's no humanity there. You know.
Yes, that is correct. And speaking of Nighthawk, darkness is always around. Just depends on if you leave the door open for them.
Oh yeah. Do not open that door. They will definitely take the opportunity to come in. And like I said before, if you open that door in many different ways into your life by either drug use, alcohol, abusive behavior, hatred, anger, jealousy, whatever your weakness is what can open that door to the demonic.
Liana says, thank you both for so much for our service. Thank you, Liana. Appreciate that.
Thank you, Leon.
Kat says, is it hard to tell the difference? Ye will know.
Well, you got to really be careful. That's why it takes a demonologist to know a lot of these things. And like I said a few programs back, you can't just read a couple of books and say, well, I'm a demonologist now. It don't work that way, folks. Okay. You've got to have training in the field. You've got to engage in years of spiritual warfare to understand what it is you're dealing with. You just don't go out and say, I think it's this or I think it's that. You got to know. And you got to know 100% as much as you possibly humanly can know what you're dealing with.
But you'll know the empty shell when you see one. Now, there is a difference that we talked about in other shells that you got to be careful with mental illness and so forth, remember? Because we're not doctors and there's a fine line. We always talk about that, ladies and gentlemen. And
Yeah.
you gotta understand the difference between that. Tammy, welcome to the show, Tammy. Hello.
Hey.
Sam, would you say are some symptoms of a bad entity is following you as an empath?
Oh, you'll pick up on that. And here's what I said to, matter of fact, I mentioned this on the show about angels today. You need to have that spirit of discernment. Now, God will give you that gift. Discernment helps you understand what you're dealing with and helps you see things for what they truly, really are. That's the important thing about discernment, the gift of discernment. And no matter what you're trying to do, also be in touch with your feelings, because if you feel something's not right, 9 times out of 10 you probably are correct. Go with that and understand that something's trying to tell you something, and you need to investigate what it is you're doing.
Juno wants to know what is a psychic vampire.
Psychic vampire is a person sometimes possessed with a vampire spirit, and it's not like Hollywood with the cape and turning into a bat. It can be a psychic type thing, and these things, these spirits, these vampire spirits, and they are demonic spirits, by the way, can feed off of the life essence of your soul. And that's why a lot of people that deal with these psychic vampires say, oh, I just feel drained. I'm tired. I feel like I've run a 30 miles or something, no wonder, because you've been drained psychically, spiritually. That's what it's about.
Sam Thomas, I know they play on one's feelings. I also believe that they know things before we know them,
Oh yeah,
either good or bad.
They have preternatural knowledge. That's why I said your enemy is so dangerous. He knows a lot of things that you don't know. And I actually had a case where I ran into one demon. Years later, I ran into the same demon again, somewhere else in a completely different situation, who remembered my name, by the way.
Yeah, I wouldn't deal very lightly on that. Yeah, that would kind of take me back a little bit.
Yeah.
How'd you deal with that, by the way?
Well, it was just a little trick they were trying to play on me to get to me, to kind of stick me and manipulate me. That's the way these insidious things work. I just pushed aside. I said, okay, so you know me. Okay, good. You know what I'm about. You know what I'm going to do to you. So You got to be careful because a lot of what they do is theatrics. They're trying to spook you. They're trying to scare you. They're trying to worry you. They're trying to get in you under your skin. Don't let them do it. You know?
Sam Thomas says, Mr. Carroll, I bet they hate seeing you coming.
Oh well, they know me well, I think, and I'm on their list. Definitely, they hate my guts. But that's okay. I'm not particularly care for them either. But actually, I have had them attack me a lot. Like one time, I pulled up at a house, and I knew this house was demonically infested, and I felt my arm burning. I didn't even get out of the car. Okay, I felt my arm burning. I looked down, pulled my sleeve up, and there were 3 long scratch marks. You know, and I knew what they were doing. I just spoke. I opened the door and I said, "Look, you're not going to keep me from doing what I'm here to do. You're not going to stop me. So leave me alone. You just give up now, okay?" I just spoke to them like that. And I put a little holy water on that. And by the end of the night, those marks were completely gone as if they never were there.
Really?
Hmm.
Wow. Yeah, I think I would use the whole bottle of holy water. See?
I just put a little holy water on there. But always the demons will mark you with that three
Mark of the
claw
Trinity.
every
Yeah.
time. Every time. But they're just trying to spook you, trying to scare you because they know it's not me. It's the power backing me up that's going to get rid of them. They know that. They know what I represent and what I'm being used as a vessel for. They don't like that. They hate my guts, but that's okay. I'm not in this for the popularity.
No, and that's the truth. Now, you have seen a lot of things in your lifetime.
Hmm.
What has been the worst thing that you could probably relate to and seen?
Well, one comes to mind. There's been a lot of them. I could write a book on it, and I may have to do that one day. But I remember one case that was it was kind of emotional to me, where this young girl calls me up, and this took place on the phone call, and she said my boyfriend is possessed. He's sitting laying in the corner of the room, and I could hear him in the background screaming. And he said there's blood running out of his eyes. He sees these things. They're these dark things. She said I can see them. And when you run into a situation like that, and these people are so frightened, been so traumatically used, it can be disconcerting, definitely. And I felt so bad about that I could not be there physically. You know what I'm saying? If I could have only been there physically, but it was a long ways away from, I think we were in like Texas somewhere. And I did everything I could. But that's the frustrating part, not being there physically to do what you need to do. To me, that is bad, very bad.
Wow. So, what have
Mm.
happened to the situation?
Well, it did get somewhat resolved, but they had to eventually go to priest to get the whole thing done. I actually had her hold the phone out, and I actually said a prayer out loud over the phone, which kind of eased everything down a little bit. Thank God, it kind of eased everything down so they could handle it better. That was the main thing. That was my main objective. And I said, now you need to get to some physical help. You need to go to somebody right now. Take him to somebody that needs, your priest or whatever. And they were Catholic and they had a priest. I said, do that now. Don't wait. Just because it's settling down a little bit. Don't let that fool you. Take him. And I heard back later that I think that everything kind of came out better. But it's so frustrating when you can't be there. That's what gets me.
Yes, yes. Hello, Yolanda. Welcome to the show. Yeah, I definitely uh, agree with that.
Mm.
Hello, Tammy.
Yeah,
Stingray.
opening doors can be very, very. And there's another way to do it. That's with a Ouija board. My parents used to tap a small table when I was a kid, kind of like a Ouija board. Yeah, you could. There's different way. You could make your own Ouija board. It's no big deal. That's not. It's not the board really, although it can be possessed, sort of oppressed, or whatever name you want to give it. The board itself, it has that aura around it. but it's what you're doing, your intentions. That's what you have to watch out for.
Wow. Yeah. No. No. So, hello, Wanda. That's very
Hey,
interesting. Really is.
but yeah, you got to be careful about opening those doors to your being, and sometimes things you bring in the house or things or people you let in your life. Be very, very careful because the enemy sets snares and traps for us. They're very good at that, and they know what makes us tick. They know. Shakespeare often said that the devil knows. He knows the desires of your heart, and that's where he can really get to you if you're not careful.
Yeah, that's true. Absolutely right on that, kind sir. Absolutely. What other questions you have, ladies and gentlemen? Some very good ones. So I know somebody asked the other night, I don't know if it was on my show or another show, about that black satellite.
Of the Black Knight satellite.
Yeah. So what's the deal with that? Do you
Well,
believe it's actual truth about that, or you think it's ours?
I did a recent show on the Nazi thing with the Antarctica. There's some really freaky things supposedly going on down there. But there's the possibility that the ancient civilizations that may have inhabited the Antarctic might have put that satellite up thousands of years ago.
Huh.
It's an interesting theory.
Liana, do you think there are different levels of demons?
Oh yeah. Oh, there are definitely principalities and powers. That's what the Bible says, that we struggle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers. What he's talking about, the different classes of demons, and there are different ones. And here's the interesting thing about demons, and I can say this: there's not usually, although they hate each other. Now think about this a minute. Okay, this is freaky. They hate each other. They hate everything. They hate each other. They hate themselves, for that matter. But they hate everything. They hate each other. But yet they cooperate to get things done. Because Jesus said, Satan's house is not divided. A house divided will not stand. But his house is not divided. He doesn't work against himself. He's not stupid. These things are not stupid. Oh no, they're very highly intelligent, by the way. So they're not going to work against each other, but they cooperate with you, although they hate each other. And there's probably a lot of infighting and jealousy and all that going on. I don't doubt that a bit. They try to get on top of each other and everything else. But they still, in the end, they cooperate to get things done. And there are different types of demons for different things. There are demons of suicide. There are demons of pornography. There are demons of drug use. There are demons of alcohol. There are demons of every sin you can think of. They're behind it. 100%.
Gino wants to know, why does the Vatican have a picture of the devil in their vault?
Well, it might be a good idea to keep an image of your enemy around just so you don't forget him. That might be one of the reasons right there. And they also have some books of the devil, too, in the Vatican. That was supposedly, one of them was actually supposedly written by him, personally by hand. But there's some very interesting things, and we'll have to do a show on that on the Vatican, because there's some very interesting rumors and stories about the things that may exist in the Vatican. There's even a time machine, supposedly, religious relics. They supposedly have half the sign that hung over the cross of Jesus.
Really?
So they have a lot of interesting stuff. We'll have to talk about that one night. The Black Knight satellite, yeah. Might have something to do with that, too.
Wow. Nighthawk, what do you think about the CERN opening a portal to hell?
Without a doubt, I think they have to. It may not be slam bam wide open, but I think they've cracked the door, definitely, because I have seen, and a lot of us as researchers have seen, a dramatic increase in paranormal activity just in these last couple of years. Since CERN has started back up again, it's increased. That tells you something right there. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Okay, folks, and they're screwing around with some stuff. They're opening doors and all that. Let's go back right quick to the Book of Revelation a minute. Remember the demons of the bottomless pit? What do you think the bottomless pit is? It is another dimension, folks. Hell is in another dimension. Heaven is in another dimension. Okay, we're dealing with dimensional things here. And that's what CERN is doing too.
Yeah. Very interesting subject, that's for sure. Let's see here. They're just talking back and forth. Allegedly, there are people at home with electronics that they made or open up small portals themselves, and they're disappearing, and the government is coming in and confiscating their equipment.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have actually seen incidences, Chris, where the demonic has got into machines, electronics, video games, you name it. Anything, let me tell you this, and this is going to blow your mind. Anything made by the hand of man is subject to demonic infestation or manipulation.
Interesting, yes. Sam, are we learning from all this or opening too many doors, he wants to know?
Well, let's open doors of knowledge. I call them the doors of perception. Those are the good doors to open. You learn things from that. But here's the thing you've got to remember about the demonic. Do not become obsessed with them. Don't become infatuated with them. Don't constantly think about them and talk about them all the time. You're going to draw them to you. Okay, don't do that. That's not a good thing. That's why even demonologists do not like to call their names. Oh, we'll do that occasionally, but we don't like to do that on a regular basis because it gets their attention.
So, Nighthawk wants to know, where do you think the missing 411 people are going?
I think there's several different answers to that. I think some of it may be connected to what some people term alien forces, and I think there's a big connection demonically wise with that as well. I think a lot of it is, of course, sex trafficking, slavery. So there's different answers to that. It's not just one thing that's doing it all. But there may be some portals too. There may be people wandering into naturally occurring portals that disappear. And I've seen actual cases of that, of people that supposedly had that happen. So there's a lot of different reasons for these missing, but thousands go missing every year. That should be disturbing our governments, but they don't seem to care too much about it.
No, they don't report all that stuff in parks and so forth, do they, kind sir? I'm definitely not trying to play with them. Yeah, so
no, there's something you don't want to play. Well, let me say this, okay? And I'm just gonna make this quick anthology for you. If I'm playing around with a pet rattlesnake all day and I kiss on him and hug him and all that, you think eventually that thing's gonna bite me? That's the demonic, folks. You don't play with them. They're eventually going to bite you. That's just the way that works. Don't give them that opportunity. You don't. Here, let me say something. Let me make a bold, quick statement for you. Evil has no power unless you give it to it. That's where it starts. You got to give them that power. Okay? And neither do your politicians either. Don't give them the power. If they don't deserve it, don't give it to them. That's where it starts. You are the one that's passing that buck. Okay, don't do that. Don't say, "Hey, I'm not gonna cooperate with this stuff." You know, you don't. Nobody's holding a gun to your head yet. That may happen down the road. Okay, I'm saying I'm painting a bad picture here. Nobody's holding a gun to your head right now, making you do these things. Don't cooperate. If you don't cooperate, you take the power away from them. Don't forget that.
True. Does Dennis believe that people like George Soros is evil for what he wants to do? Bill Gates with this vaccine agenda, beef, cattle, chickens. What do you think about that?
I'm not eating any lab-made meat. I'll tell you that right now. But let me answer that question. Okay, if somebody come to you tomorrow, Grizzly, and said, Dennis is out here. He's using drugs. He's getting in fights with people, shooting people with a gun, killing people. He sounds like Dennis might be on the bad side. Okay. Fruit don't fall far from the tree, folks. Soros is doing good thing, and his son's taking over now. By the way, he's not doing good stuff. Whose side is he on then? That's what tells you the story. What kind of fruit is on that tree? If it's rotten, bad fruit, what does that tell you? You know.
Yolanda wants to learn more about the Vatican on another show, she says.
Well, we'll talk about that one night, definitely. There's a lot of interesting, weird stuff going on with the Vatican. The Vatican is actually a nation unto itself. It has its own standing army.
Yes, that is true.
Mm-hmm.
The
Pope at one time, and people, I'm going to be accused of being anti-Catholic here, but the Pope at one time was the biggest kingmaker and breaker politician in the world, and he still holds a very high position, definitely. Gov Jerky and Beetlejuice, huh? By the way, Beetlejuice, the planet Beetlejuice, they say may actually go supernova. If it does, we'll see it. Very interesting thing.
It would be interesting.
Yeah.
It would be. So yeah, very good questions, ladies and gentlemen. Stand by. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Another edition of Demonology Today. We got Dennis Carroll with us. And welcome back, everybody. Let's see, Crazy Witch. The first time they dug up a dead pope and put the body on trail for something. What? Click on that here. They put up the body. Click it. It ain't one. There you go.
Dead pope and they put the body on trail. And lighting the guy. There's weird facts. There's a lot of weird, especially the Borgias. Do some research on the Borgias. Oh, God, that was the biggest crime family the world's ever seen. And they had like 2 popes at one time or another that were going on with that. So there's some interesting stuff with that. And by the way, I was going to tell you this. There is a demonic connection to the Black Knight satellite. We'll have to talk about that one night, too.
So the thing, though, is if we're so concerned about this, why don't we just take it out? Why don't we just take it out?
I don't know. I don't know why they don't. Well, they don't believe it's there. What Cotton Mather once said, the power of the devil is that nobody believes he exists. Well, they don't want to. They ignore things sometimes if it makes them uncomfortable. That doesn't make them go away, though.
Huh. That's true. Yeah.
We've got a heat I got a heat advisor going on here. I got 105 today. Whew, getting kind of warm.
So we are at the end of the Pope's list. So what's supposed to happen now?
Well, you got to remember something about that. The Pope is really a premier politician and a bureaucrat. He runs a bureaucracy too, Although he has his own army, he has his own bodyguards, it is a bureaucracy, and it's run by the cardinals. They vote and they do all this stuff, But the Pope is the main say. But here's the interesting thing about the Pope. You know who the original Pope was? The original number one Pope was Peter, St. Peter. Jesus said to him, I'll give you the keys to the kingdom. Upon this rock, my church will be built. But that's when men got involved after that, not directly after Peter. Peter was the last and only true great Pope. Okay. He was the one that walked with Christ. He knew everything. He was a disciple. After that, politics got involved in the church. Okay. And that's when they took out some of the books out of the Bible and all this other stuff. So the church got really screwed up in that way. You know what the word Catholic means, by the way?
No, I do not.
It means universal. So you're talking about the universal church. And as a matter of fact, the Pope come out not long ago and told all of us who are Protestants, "Oh, come on back, we'll forgive you. Come on back to the church. We'll forgive you. You can come on back in now." But anyway, it's run by money. Did you know, and here's another thing, a lot of people don't know this, the Pope, through the Catholic Church, the church itself, actually owns most of Rome, and everybody pays them rent.
I did not know that as well.
Oh, they get tons. They get millions. It's a big, big, big business. Billions of dollars.
Interesting.
That's like I said about a certain kind of, and I'm not supposed to say this together, but, having something to do with children and maybe also having to do with trafficking is one of the biggest businesses in the world. They're bigger than the airlines business. Think about that a minute. Folks, money runs the demonic, and demonic runs the money. That's what it's all about. Money makes everything go around in this world. People like George Soros and other peoples I won't name, the Bilderbecks and all these other guys, they're all about the big money. Money is power, and that's where the demonic is. It's always with the power.
Can you explain the white pope and the black pope?
Oh, yeah, there was, the black pope. Then he was the Borgia. He was one of the Borgia, the popes I was talking about. The Borgia were definitely, really, the forerunners of the Italian mafia.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. But now the white pope, one of the white popes was actually, one of my favorites was John Paul. Remember him?
Yes.
I liked him. He was not that much of a politician. He was more religious than some of these other men. He was not about bureaucracy and all that. As much as I know about him, I didn't live with him, I didn't deal with him. But I mean, as much as I learned about him, I liked him. But I liked his approach to the papacy and the way he did things better than some of his predecessors.
Interesting, yeah.
Increased Mather, yeah. Cotton Mather, what they call him, yeah. Increased Mather. Actually, he wrote a book of condemning witches. He was a witch hunter. He was a witch hunter general, actually, in a way. But he has said some interesting things, though. I've read some of his stuff. He did some pretty good, interesting sermons, but he was fanatical in many ways, especially about witchcraft and witches and stuff. Yes, the Antichrist is definitely here. And I'm going to tell you this, his spirit has been with us a long time. It showed up in people like Hitler, Stalin. He is here, and his spirit exists here. But the man that will exemplify that spirit, the man who will take that spirit into him, and it will possess and dwell in him like an anti-Holy Spirit, okay? It will dwell in him. He will be the son of Satan, definitely, without a doubt. But he also, and the reason why, and a lot of people don't get this, why do they call him the beast? Because he is lower than man. He is among the beasts. In other words, he's kind of lower than man. He has that animal bad side to him, that ungodly side to him. That's why he's called the beast. He's half man and half whatever the other part may be. I think it's demonic, but his spirit is in this world. I believe he is actually physically in our world right now today. I'm going to tell you something. I had a very strange dream years ago. And I've studied a lot about dreams. Dreams are very, we're going to have to do a show on that on dreams. Dreams are very interesting. And I'll tell you one, I had this dream, and I dreamed I was somewhere with a lot of people, like a group of people. It might have been a church or something. I don't know what it was. But it was a group of people. And somebody came to me. Somebody came up to me and whispered in my ear. And I followed them. And they said, come on, we've got to show you something. We've got to show you something. So I followed this person, and there was a woman there. And this woman turned around, and she had a beautiful baby in her arms. And she said, we want you to see this. And it was the beautifulest baby, angelic kind of baby. And I looked at it, and the more I looked at it, it became horrible and evil looking. I cannot describe the way it looked in this dream. And I woke up. But I took that as important, that has already come into this world and is waiting to be revealed.
Wow. I'm playing catch up on comments, ladies and gentlemen. What do you think about Revelations 18 through verse 23?
You don't have to refresh me on that. I'm not sure what that is. I don't have my Bible with me, right? Yeah, no, listen. Nobody listen.
So I'm trying to figure. Do you think about it? Captain King, Carrie Searles, Money Changers. What do you think? Okay, I know somebody said this in the comments earlier. What do you think about this new world money that they want to switch over to?
Well, that's part of politics, definitely, and corruption. And a lot of politics is nothing but corruption, run by corruption. Like I said before, where do these dark people come from out of nowhere with millions of dollars? How did they get that? I don't know about you, Chris, but I don't have millions in the bank. I wish I did. And nobody's giving me any millions. What's going on with that? Somebody is definitely going with somebody's plan.
I've got it right here next to me. I got my cat balls out, so yes.
Is that going off on us here?
No, I'm not putting them out. I've got them next to me, but I'm not putting them out. So yes. So, but I know somebody mentioned that earlier, and during one of the comments. But somebody in the chat room, I don't know if he's still here or not, asked the AI about God, and it was the evil mode of AI, and it put out a horrendous explanation of what they thought God was, and it was just awful. But I just had to put that plug in there. Used not be crazy memory. I like to tell you about it. Someone I knew when I seen. Well, so I'm glad your cat is fixed, Stingray. Well, maybe it won't run off this time.
Yeah.
But no, so I always hear about that satellite. I always hear about things in the Vatican that's in the vault that no one's allowed to go see, and it's always off limits. That's always
there is so much. And here's the thing you got to ask a question about when it comes to the Vatican. There's so much secrecy. Why? What are they hiding? What's going on with that? What are they trying to keep from everybody? Why so much secrecy? And here's the interesting thing about evil, demons, and all that. They work perfectly fine in the shadows and in secrecy. That's what they dwell in. That's what they use to hide and work from. So why is the Vatican kind of going along with that kind of an attitude? Why are they being so secretive? That's the number one question I want to answer.
Yeah, it does. That's a really good question. So yeah, absolutely.
You know what? You can be a scholar and you have to get permit. And listen to this. As a scholar, I would have to be over 70 years old, and I would have to like go through a process that would take maybe 10 years to get to the Vatican archives. And then they would only let me in certain areas. Why is that? You know? And I know there's bureaucracy, and I know how bureaucracies work, but that to me sounds like more of an impediment. They don't want you to do something, certain things, you know?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Any more questions out there in the audience, ladies and gentlemen, before we wrap up the show?
Come on, folks, now let's have some questions here. What's the one thing you want to know about? Seems that you know you're too secret, definitely. And doing things in secret. Oh yeah, they do secret, but they also come out in the open once in a while too. They don't like that though. They like to work because, like I said before, they like that undercover darkness thing because people will come up to you to this day and say, "Oh, there's no such thing as demons. That's a bunch of junk." There's people doing stuff like that. There's no such thing as demons. But folks, I've seen them face to face. I know they are. I know they exist. I've seen them face to face. I've been attacked by them. I've seen what they've done to other people. I've seen them kill people. Okay, I mean,
oh no, they don't, Mr. Carroll. They don't do that stuff. That's just on TV. Yeah. That's what they tell me.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but
yeah.
That's the power of the demonic. They're not going to show their hand unless they absolutely have to. Okay, I remember there was one scene in The Exorcist. You remember when that young priest came in and the demon opened the drawer? Remember that? And he said, "Do that again." You know, he didn't kind of believe it. He was kind of agnostic. He didn't. This is kind of mental illness thing, you know, going on. And he said, "Do that again." And the demon said, "I'll do it later when I feel like it."
Yeah.
They don't overplay. They're smart. They don't know. You know, people, I got to tell you this right quick, okay? Let's not forget to lose the big picture. And I'm telling you this to scare you. I don't want you to get negative about the demonic. I want you to have power over the demonic. That's what it's all about. That's why I tell you these things. Not to be afraid, not just warn you, and I do warn you, but I want you to have power over these things. I don't want them to have power over you. Okay, and that's why I said the only power they have is what you give them. But don't give them an inch. Don't give them 1 centimeter of an inch. Don't do that. But let me tell you this. They are strong, they are powerful, and not just physically, spiritually, mentally. They have been around untold millions of years. They've learned things you and I would never have enough lifetimes to learn. That's your enemy. Respect it, just like you would respect an African lion in your living room, okay? You better respect him. You better respect what it can do to you, but just remember, don't give it any power over you. That's the main thing. I don't want you to be scared of the demon. I want you to laugh at them and kick their butts out of your life when they bother you, because that's what they deserve. They're vermin. They're pests. They're like roach bugs, spiritual roach bugs, I call them. Don't let them get anything over you, okay? You don't have to take it off of these guys.
That's correct. So you got 2 questions, and we'll wrap it up. Kat wants to know, how old were you realize when you know about the demonic? Were you little? What age was you?
Okay. What do you mean? Repeat that again. I didn't quite.
How old were you when you realized when you got to know about the demonic?
Oh, the demonic itself. I was about, well, I had heard that for many years, but I was probably about 14 years old when I actually saw those demonic spirits. It was in a church, and I was shocked. I mean, I really was not expecting anything like that. Didn't have my mind on that. But when I was confronted with it, it took me a while to understand what I had seen. And then I wanted to understand more. And like I said, it kind of lit a fire under me to understand and learn what was going on here. And the more and the deeper I got into it, the more I learned over these years. I said, well, somebody's going to help people with this stuff. Somebody needs to offer a viable solution against these things. I saw people just going in and having their jollies and so-called haunted houses and ghost hunts and doing all this stuff. I said, but nobody's helping these people. And people would come to me and say, I want help. I want a solution to this problem, you know. And so I said, there's got to be an answer to this, you know. So I got deeper and deeper into it to understand what was really going on and how to help people to get power over these things, to take that authority that God gave us. That's what real spiritual warfare is all about. And you fight it with prayer. You can fight it with religious objects. It depends on where your faith is. Okay, that's what it takes, faith, to fight. That's what the Bible illustrates that very much with the armor of God. You know, the shield of faith, the sword of the Spirit, the helmet of salvation, all of that stuff. It's got to go together to give you a complete soldier in spiritual warfare. It makes you a soldier. And so that's what you got to go with. And that's what I began to learn. I began to learn all of this stuff. And here's what I said about the demonic, very much like in many other paranormal subjects, which I have studied over the years. It's like a diamond. You hold it up to the light, and it's got so many different facets. And the more you turn it, the more you learn. And the more you see, the more you know. That's just the way it works. But you got to want to, you know. And that was one of my driving motivations, was to be able to help people, to not only to give them solutions to their problems, but to help them understand what they were coming up against and what these forces are and where they are in this universe, and where they are in relation to us as children of God, and why we have power over them, why we got to do that. The big picture goes into 1,000 different avenues, but it's still an interesting study. To me, it never gets old. And like I say, I take it, though, from a scholarly point of view, too. I have to, in order to learn and take away from it what I need to. That's the way to go.
All right, Mr. Carroll. Now, do you think the Amityville house was demonic, or you just think the guy was just crazy?
Well, that was one of Ed and Lorraine Warren's interesting cases, and I studied a lot of the things they did because they were pretty close to they're the only people at that time that were pretty close to the ways I wanted to do things. But I heard that the actual beginning of the Amityville was thought up one night over a bottle of wine. But they must say one thing about Ed and Lorraine Warren, okay? Although I like what they did and I think their intentions were good, they also had I don't know, I'm not going to say this in a bad way, but they had kind of a thirst for PR. They liked a little publicity because it helped them sell books and it made them celebrities, you know. And I can understand where they were coming from on that. But they would get involved in some of this stuff, and I think sometimes it was taken to... No, I don't. At the beginning, there was a potential for that with the Amityville because of what happened there. Definitely. I'm sure it was a dark place. But of all of Hollywood took it and ran with the ball. And I think that went completely different direction from what it really, truly was. I would love to spend a night in the Amityville house just to see what I could find. But, I mean, you know, I don't think it's all cracked up to what it was supposed to be.
Well, you know what? You can spend a night in there by yourself. That's for sure. But yeah, no. But yeah, I'm good. You can do that all by yourself. That was very interesting. If you don't mind, lead us in prayer. Very good questions. I'm very pleased with that. So yeah. If you,
I heard that there was a rumor that they said around one night over a bottle of wine. Not Ed and Lorraine. I'm talking about the guy that owned the house and somebody else said, "Hey, why don't we do this?" You know, I've actually had hoaxers many times, Chris. I'm going to have to do a show one night on hoaxers. Okay, that have actually come to me. I had a woman come to me. Let me give you a quick illustration, right quick. I had a woman call me up that I'm in so and so Texas somewhere, and said my children have been attacked by the demonic. They've got scratches on them. They're making our lives a hell. I'll fly you out here, you know, to take care of this. And I said, really? I said, you know, I don't mind helping you. She said, yeah, but I'm also want to let you know I'm also writing a book about this.
There's the motive.
So I say, listen, lady, if your children are being attacked demonically, and your life why are you stopping to write a book about it? Come on, you know. You got to watch it, but there's a lot of hoaxers. I've had a lot of people try to trick me into believing things. That I had a woman one time, and what she really wanted to do, listen to this, she wanted to scare her grandmother out of the house and put her in a nursing home so she could take the house. And she tried to get this poor woman to believe her house was haunted by ghosts. And she was showing her pictures of the ghost that she took, which turned out to be an app you could put on your phone. And I looked at this woman, I said, lady, do you think I'm stupid? You not know what this is and what you're up to. I said, I better not come back here and I better not find this woman that's been taken out of her house because of this stuff. You got to really watch what's going on out there, folks. There's a lot of hoaxers out there.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. Unbelievable. Yeah, let's do that. That'd be great.
But they'll use you to get what they want to get out of. That's what they're in. They don't care about that. I've had a guy call me up one night and said his wife got pulled out of bed by her hair, and they were in a parking lot of a motel, and the whole thing was a setup to make a movie.
Wow. After you, Dennis, we'll let you lead us in prayer, and we'll cover the next show, and we'll go from there.
All righty. Lord God Almighty, creator of the universe, we are your children, and we stand upon your promises. And you have promised to protect us, that you will safeguard us in these perilous times that may come upon us. And the forces that we don't really know about, the forces that are in this world that are attacking us sometimes, they come against us with darkness. We ask that you keep us from these perilous things, that you safeguard us, and you guard us well, and send us your holy angels to guard and protect us and watch over us. We ask this in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ, the one name to which all power is given in heaven and earth, the name and the blood of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. All right.
I think we'll just get into the Vatican next week. What do you think?
Vatican, yeah.
Yeah, all right.
That's what I'm talking about. I think that'd be a good one.
Watch out, Pope. We're coming for you.
The Vatican. That will be interesting, ladies and gentlemen.
The Vatican Archives.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, from coast to coast around the world, next week, the Vatican it shall be. We'll catch you on the flip side. Godspeed. Take care.
Vatican Diaz.